I have a remark from the presenter that we are missing some keys for some of the bikes. If you have keys for the bike, please hand them back down at the info booth. If there's no one down at the info booth, go down to the bar and give it to the bartenders. They will know where it is. So if you borrowed a bike, please hand back the keys. That is pretty important. We have to hand them back pretty soon. And you guys are leaving tomorrow. Okay, so the next presentation we have is Kramse, who is leading up our network team here at BornHack for the first time. And he will be talking a bit about the week from his view of the network. Let's give Kramse a big hand.
Thank you. So I'm not the only one doing the network. We have Peter Krubel, who's working at BornFiber. We have some people at Global Connect that bought us a lot of equipment. We have Roffe walking around doing a lot of stuff. We have 8dot that has helped a lot. So we are a larger group than just me. But I have the pleasure of doing the presentation. So, and you're welcome to get the presentation afterwards. There's also a reference to a Danish blog post where I wrote a little bit about this network that I'm building and what happened before we got here. So the state of the network is that sniff it all, collect it all, know it all, process it all, exploit it all. That is not our thing. So we have deliberately said that we would not save any information, we would not do NetFlow, we would not do IDS, we haven't done IPS, we're not doing DNS censorship, we are putting you directly on the internet and we're not saving a thing from the network, which is kind of a bad thing because it made some debugging this week pretty hard. So next year we will probably start doing like a mirror port that we can pull some traffic from if we need to. But the NOC has on purpose not been collecting a lot of stuff. We have a little bit of information like the MAC address of your wireless devices. That is saved in a UniFi controller, which is the wireless, but that will get deleted before we leave these premises. That is my promise to you. So a normal day usage on the BornHack network has been pretty slow. You're not doing a lot on the network. A lot of people are on the network doing something, but probably doing SSH, probably downloading a little bit. Even downloading a big 1 gigabyte file is not much on this network because you have a gigabit connection. So we will have some peaks. The green ones are downloading to the network. Perhaps it's just somebody running a speed test. And the blue-purple stuff is you uploading stuff to the internet. So next year, you're welcome to bring an extra PC, put it on a wire somewhere, put on some of your favorite torrents. I've been uploading from my laptop since Kali 2016.2 was released in like 36 hours ago. I have been now uploading 130 gigabytes to the network, to the internet. So if you bring more devices next year and put them on the wired network, we can use more bandwidth. The preparations we did before getting here was that we asked the RIPE NCC for temporary resources. We got an accepted ticket for an AS number, IPv6 and IPv4, because we knew that we wanted to run with public IPs for the participants. We also wanted to run IPv6, of course. So in August, start of August, we got the actual addresses, and they were added to BornFiber's network. So Peter Krubel was announcing it to the world so we could make sure that it's reachable from the world. Then we got all the way to Thursday. I arrived with Flemming and Roffe, Joachim, on Thursday at around 2 o'clock. We brought a lot of core devices, network devices. About 6 switches were already here. We brought the fibers, we brought some Ethernet and so on. And we were missing a single cable. We were missing a single cable with these connectors that are shown on the bottom, and we couldn't connect to the network. So we could set up everything and we could configure everything, but we could not connect to the internet. That was fixed on Friday, but that was the first problem we experienced on the network. We also had another problem, which was that one of the deliveries, a package for me, was not delivered in time before I left for Bornholm. So the package I had with 21 meter cables, brand new cables that I wanted to use, about €1 a piece, hadn't arrived. So the core network has been this eagle nest of old cables that we have used. But luckily it seems that they have all been okay. But we could have had some problems with that. The main devices that we are running is Juniper devices for the core routing. It is devices called SRX 340, which is rated for 3 gigabits of throughput. We have a 1 gigabit connection, and we have 1 gigabit connections around the place, and they can actually go to 3 gigabits, but that's the best case with large packets. With another spec, which is the iMix, which is mixed packets, it's supposed to go to 1 gigabit. So this network has a 1 gigabit router, it has a 1 gigabit network, but you're not using 1 gigabit. Use that next year. We also have some core switches which are called EX3300. These are the main switches which are in the data center, which is the small room next to the kitchen. Then we were happy to borrow a lot of Brocade switches, 24 port, 48 ports, simple 1 gigabit switches that we put out around the POPs, the big boxes around the network. We were lucky that you haven't been bad, you haven't done a lot of awful shit around the network, but these devices are pretty simple. So we're not able to do a lot of specific filtering, do a lot of DHCP monitoring. It would be much better to have more advanced feature sets in these switches so that people couldn't spoof DHCP and couldn't actually run too many MAC addresses on a single cable and so on. But we were really happy to borrow these because we were able to create a large network geographically, even though we are very few people on site. We also have used the wireless devices, which are enterprise grade. It's not the biggest, baddest. It's just very simple Ubiquiti Unify UAP AC Pro. They have a spec of 122 meter coverage, so that's the most they were able to do. And we have one in the tent here, and we have one in one of the huts over here. And you can use the wireless at the sausage van. So it's been pretty okay, but we have been pretty few people here. So if we double or triple the number of attendees, we will need to have a more professional wireless solution. So if you know someone that does wireless, wants to come, I'm guessing that we would use like 2 people, perhaps you, Jørgen, next year, and then 2 people doing like wireless stuff, 2 people doing like core network stuff, and 1 doing some kind of server stuff, because we also had a lot of problems getting some servers up and running for our management and monitoring purposes. We've been monitoring for interfaces and errors and so on, and it took us like 24 hours to get a running server from the 4 that we have borrowed. So they wouldn't start any of them, and Roffe switched memory and switched CPUs and so on until he got 1 working. So that was a little bit bad. We had about 900 meters of fiber. Some of them were 50 meters, some of them were 100 meters. We were using the 100 meters going south from the core network. The core network is in the building over here. And we had some 50 meter which goes around in a circle up here next to the speaker tent. I also got a delivery of some 50 meter Ethernet cables, which we used for putting the power for the access point in the boxes, and then putting a 50 meter cable out to the actual access point, which allows us to broaden out the wireless coverage. And I think that will be the next year Model 2. If we can get some power over Ethernet devices, that makes it a little bit easier to power them. We also got the uplink to Born Fiber. We're using the Border Gateway Protocol, BGP, so we connect to the ISP using 2 devices, which are in a cluster. And since we got it up and running, it has been running flawlessly. So the connection to the nearest active device across the fiber link to this place has been very stable. There has been a little bit of problems out in their network, but not much, a little bit. And there's a link at the bottom where you can actually go to statripe.net and see how the network has been seen from the outside, from the internet. We also have this network drawing, which is mine, very, very high skilled in the graphic design. It's just showing the various POPs, point of presence. And from the core, you see that we have the south 3, 2, 1, which is all the way to the entrance. So that was the 100 meter cabling. And we also have a 1 going over to the left, which is the south 3-3 switch, which is near the family area, near the camp tent that is over there. And if we grow and we get more participants, we can of course add more switches to this setup if we need to, and we have more switches. We would probably also go ahead and buy like a 250 meter, 300 meter fiber cable, so we can do a redundant path all the way to the south entrance. And actually, there has been people at the south entrance because they have been living in their vans. So that's the vans that drove into the field. There have been users down there, and I had some debugging with Olson, which is one of the ones living down there. But the South 2 pub actually doesn't have seen much activity. It's in the nature area, and I think there maybe was a misunderstanding that somewhere it was written that there wouldn't be wireless in the nature area, but of course there will be wireless coverage in the nature area. Just because you want to live in the high grass, you can still get Wi-Fi. We also have the core ring shown on this, which is the West 1 and West 2 and the North 1. It was envisioned that we would have an eating area up on where we have the cars parked. Actually, there would be an eating area. And if we are more people in a few years, it might be needed. But I think next year we will just take a double link to the huts, the cabins, and to the speaker tent, something like that. And then pull out some APs, more APs on that area. Yeah, we had these great boxes from Bornholm Kommune. We were supposed to get some weather-resistant boxes rented, but we didn't receive those. So we were lucky to get these boxes from Bornholm Kommune. And of course, they need to be returned. So in the early morning tomorrow, I will start taking down the network. So if some of you want to help moving these boxes when we have disconnected them from the South 1 and South 2 and South 3, the South 3 will be the last pub to be removed, I think. But the South 2 and 1, they need to be moved all the way 200 meters up. So if you can help with that, that would be great. Also, I bought these 50-meter cables hoping that we could sell them at the shop for the villages, but we haven't seen much big villages this year. But next year, if you have a village, if you have a tent, please either bring a 50-meter cable or buy one at the info desk so you can get fiber, connection directly into your network with 1 gigabit. That will also help with the Wi-Fi coverage, so only Wi-Fi is used by tablets and phones and so on. The physical hardening was done by these great boxes, and we put on a raincoat, and we were lucky that 8dot brought some omelets, the colorful ones, which are near the pubs, and maybe next year we would do the part where if it's not connected to the network, if the network is down, it will change the... It will already? Oh, thank you. So actually, but we didn't say that because it was arranged in the last minute, but if you bring them next year, and hopefully you will, then actually they will signal when this pub is out of network connectivity, which is a great way to visually see that you don't have network at that place. The Wi-Fi deployment was very, very sparse. It was built by me, and it was built on devices that we bought more or less at the last minute, and AHF bought 2 extra of the good Wi-Fi access points. And I guess we will either use those next year, or we will get another solution, completely another solution which can handle more. I think the maximum number of users for one of these access points is probably like 30, 40. There have been 36 users on some of them, and how many can a real access point? How many users can you have on that?
Depends really, but if you want a good network, you usually go for like 20 to 30 anyway.
Okay.
But some of them are spec for like a couple of hundred.
Oh, okay.
But you won't really do it that much.
I think the most that have been in this tent have been like 36, 35 users at the same time. Also, we have a little bit of problem with some rogue access points. If people start their access point on their phone or bring in a 4G router, it will take up some of the frequencies, and that will annoy the network. So I think we will be more strict next year about telling people to not run access points at all. It has only been mostly phones that people have been turning on. I've been monitoring this network with the Unify controller. It's software that is delivered by this company that produces these. It's a Java program. It runs on Windows, Linux, Mac. I've been running it on Linux. It's been running fine. We can get a lot of information. We can see on the pie below that there has been a lot of clients on the BornHack NAT, which is the one with the private addresses. There has been a lot of people on the BornHack, which is the yellow one with the public IPs, and then the orange one, which is the BornHack Open. Very few people have tried the IPv6 only. I have tried it, and to get it working really you would add some more stuff to it. So you actually would have something called translating from 6 to 4. So you would be able, on the IPv6 only, to access IPv4 only stuff on the internet. But we didn't get around to doing that. And also another promise that I made, which I can try to remake to Tük, is that next year we will do the EAP stuff. We were talking about doing an EAP TLS with radius, so you would be able to use VPA Enterprise to get a unique key. Every user would get a unique key, and it would just accept any login information like user and password. But that would actually create a small VPN-like encryption tunnel from your laptop to the access point. But I didn't get that working, and I'm sorry for that. Tük, I owe you one. Probably a bottle of Absolute can help a lot of that. Absolutely. We can also see that which access points has been the most active, and for a long time it was the Born App 2, which is the one closest to the bar area. If I zoom in, this is the bar area. Born App 2 is in the center. I think it was it on Friday or was it Saturday where you tested with your phone, Flemming, that you could actually, standing right next to it, of course, you could get 227 megabits download and 165 megabit upload by your phone. So that's like 3 times more than my home connection you could get at a bar in the middle of the field within trees and so on, sitting, drinking a good beer. Cheers, actually. But I think for our purposes, with the number of users we have, this Wi-Fi deployment has worked nicely. And this access point crossed the 100 gigabytes download. It was on 31st of August. The Wi-Fi controller is also shown on this one, and the numbers are that we had a maximum concurrent users of about 110 clients total, and I think in total we have seen 120 clients, different MAC addresses. So most people have probably had like 1 or 2 devices, or maybe 3, and been using them on the network. The uplink totals on Friday noon was that we have downloaded 710 gigabytes, yay, and uploaded 328 gigabytes, which is not a lot, but it is more than most people use in a weekend, I guess. Also, these graphs lose some precision, so some of the spikes will be flattened out because it runs with an SNMP average over 5 minutes, and also it loses some precision as time goes by. So it might not be the specific, you cannot take these spikes as being the maximum in use at those times. Usually when you download a big file, it will be finished very quickly on this network, so it will not be a huge spike and cannot really be seen in a day graph. We used the Unifier controller for the Wi-Fi's, but we used the Libra NMS for a network management system. It's a free open software. It has a lot of features. The best thing about it is that it's pretty much auto-discovering. So if you set up a Brocade device, you set a name on the ports, you set up a Juniper device, you set a name on the port, following some very specific rules, which is that you type core and a colon and then some descriptive text. It will actually recognize this as a core link, so you can easily buy these menus, select the ports that you want to see, and if you write transit colon on the transit IP transit interfaces, it will actually show up very quickly on these. Actually, I can just, why don't I show it? Sorry? So this is the Libra NMS, which has this different kinds of menus, and I can just zoom in a bit. So that's the network, and you have these BGP is recognized by this system. I didn't have to set up much in the system if I follow these small rules on the network. So if I go to transit, it will show all links in my network that has been marked as transit ports. If I select like a core, then it will show me the core ports going different places. So it's a hugely helpful network management system, and actually the few rules that you use are something that makes sense. So also being on a device and having a description on an interface is something that is recommended. It also supports both Brocade, Juniper and Unify equally good. So it's a nice system. We have seen some issues on this network. I think the issues have been pretty few and pretty low-level problems. There has been a power outage on this access point in the speaker tent because somebody unplugged it. So unplugging a device makes it go offline. So that was a small problem. People just taking the power from it. It was not connected with the power over Ethernet injector at the box, but with the power over Ethernet injector in here, and somebody unplugged the power to it. Also, the first days we were doing a little bit of shuffling around stuff and moving stuff into these boxes and moving cables and reusing the power strips inside the box instead of having the power pulled out, because we were adding more devices to the box, so it made more sense of using the power strip inside the box, and we cannot move the cable so quickly that the switch was powered all the time. So we had some small power outages the first days. We also have seen issues with GeoEP. Sometimes people were putting us in Slough in UK, doing a speed test. Some people just said begin test, and they were getting horrible results, but actually they were testing to a speed test server in the UK, so that made it more difficult to see the performance. While if you selected the speed test server at Fiberby, which is Asbjørn's network, then actually we were getting results like 850 megabits and around 850 megabits both ways. And actually, because of TCP, the way it ramps up, the short time of testing, you could see that it was rising all the time. So the testing finished before it reached the full 1 gigabit, but I'm pretty sure that it would have reached the full gigabyte. The server's 10 gig. We had some reports that on Tuesday, I think it was, the SDR workshop was doing stuff in the airwaves and having fun. And that fun brought some of the northern Wi-Fi up here down. We also see that around 2300 something on Wednesday, there was perhaps some kind of either small wireless outage or an outage further out in the network. But it's pretty hard to investigate these outages because we didn't do any net flow monitoring, we didn't do any packet capture, so some of these small outages cannot be investigated more. On Thursday, there was a couple of people reporting DHCP problems, and we researched it using new devices that have never been on the network to see that we got DHCP responses. But I noticed that on the device, it actually said that it had dropped some DHCP packets because of bad options. So if somebody knows more about that or have seen that before, maybe we should investigate that for next year. Or maybe I should do some kind of logging for the DHCP packets, or maybe detailed logging on a DHCP server instead of running DHCP on the SRXs. I hope next year we will use some open source routing, open source OS. We have also seen some ARP traffic, which is a little bit annoying. I'm not sure if it's because of our big network. It's quite a large network with 1,000 IPs we have. Or it may be that somebody is doing scanning. It may be that people are doing scanning from the outside. So it's a little bit difficult to investigate because I haven't had this much opportunity to mirror the traffic and see which interface it comes in on and which interface it leaves on. So next year I hope we will have more isolation between the functions so we can use more time investigating stuff that just is strange, so we can improve the network. And we will make the EAP network work next year. Also, for all of you that joins us next year, all of you, of course, I hope that you will report more incidents and tell us about any problems that you observe, because then we can fix and optimize things. Especially the wireless coverage this year has been a little bit weak, so going to the infodesk and suggesting a place where we can put access points would have been good. It's probably too late to start deploying a lot of wireless or changing it a lot, but I'm already in my head starting to plan the next year's network. So the conclusion is that the camp used too little data, use more bandwidth next year. Make sure to bring torrent seed boxes with your favorite distributions. Make sure that you get connected to the POPs with network cables. So next year, perhaps bring a switch or a small router, small firewall. That is what we do when we visit the bigger camps. We actually put up a firewall in our own tent. So we will have a private network behind that where we can put a printer and so on. Overall, I think the callings have been stable and we've been pretty happy. Wi-Fi was okay, but not great, but that was what I expected. But we're not that many people, so getting a huge, complex, really enterprise-grade Wi-Fi was out of the question, at least. So tell us your wishes for next year, and we have some plans and want to do some more dashboarding so you can see it live, all of you, because we have the data already. And I actually had some templates for these live dashboards, but since the server was delayed a bit, I never deployed them anywhere. So that's it from us, the network team, Roffe, Joachim, Peter, Carsten Peterson, everybody that has helped us. So thank you for coming and using the network. Questions?
Do you have any data of how the ratios between IPv4 and IPv6? Because for instance, I did a lot of IPv6 tunneling, even though I wasn't an IPv6 only network.
There's no, unfortunately, I have no knowledge about how many packets is one protocol or one is the other, but I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of IPv6. There has been a lot of devices that just defaults to IPv6. We may be able, or you can test out, if you do a ping to the all nodes multicast on the network, you will actually get a response, so you can estimate if it's like, probably something like 30.
The issue that there has been seen at Congress, for instance, is that a lot of devices have IPv6, but are not using it because that people just have, because they're afraid to have to be directly connected to the network, VPN, and that runs to IPv4.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I haven't got any statistics.
So earlier, pre-Snowden, there was surprised at how much IPv6 was used at these conferences, and then after Snowden, it dropped.
We have to have more VPNs with IPv6. I've been using IPv6 all week and it's been great. And when I went onto the IPv6 only network, there was only a few things that didn't work for me, which was something like, I think HipChat perhaps, and a single mail account I have at Solido. So I made a support request on that. But it's been great. And if you want to join the NOC team, just come by the NOC and talk to us.